A quick video. We're gonna talk about in this video about looking for dark skinned men's validation. And I'm not. This video is not really for light skinned men because we know that light skinned men, we don't really view dark skinned men the way women view them or black women view them. You see what I'm saying? We know we don't look for validation from dark skinned men, but this is going to be from a woman's point of view. And I don't think you light skinned brothers understand how you guys been duped, and how much you guys have been duped. The same way that dark skinned men, which I don't really think dark skinned men view light skinned men as weak and frail and effeminate. I think they just promote that to women so women can just view them that way. You see what I'm saying? That's all it really is. They want light skinned women and women period to view them that way, but they know that light skinned dudes ain't weak for real. And it works. All right, believe it or not, that stuff works. And the same way how they view light-skinned men is the same way light-skinned men view them as weak and cowards in the same way. But the difference is that dark-skinned men, that they have more support with their claims. We know that dark-skinned men have more privilege than light-skinned men, and all groups of men have more privilege than light-skinned men. But especially dark-skinned men, they have more privilege not only in the black community but in the society in general. With their claims, for example, a dark-skinned guy could come out and talk about other groups of men, but specifically light-skinned guys, and call them a bitch, call them a hoe, call them all these names, and people are going to support it more, out of envy, jealousy, etc., scornness, or just because, they're trying to prove something to dark-skinned men. Like, for example, with black women, if a dark-skinned dude says something about a light-skinned dude, they're going to soak that up and they're going to agree with him. But if let a light-skinned guy, say something about a dark-skinned dude being this, that, and the third, everyone in the society, but especially in the black community, are going to jump down this throat, no homo. You see what I'm saying? So they have more support with their claims, but they both feel the same way about each other. All right, so we know that we don't really look for dark-skinned men's validation, but we're going to talk about this from a woman's perspective about how you guys are dealing with a different demon when you're dealing with women seeking dark-skinned men's validation. You guys got to understand that. Let's talk about dark-skinned women for a second, and how you see a lot of light-skinned guys, not all, but a lot of them sometimes will give dark-skinned women compliments. And the brother Sar spoke about this, how y'all would give compliments to dark-skinned women. And those compliments really don't really mean anything because those women are seeking validation from their counterparts. They might not even be attracted to dark-skinned men, but just the way that dark-skinned men play mind games with them and using other women, complimenting other women and getting other groups of women to compete with them, they're able to get dark-skinned women to constantly, check for their validation. You got to understand that dark-skinned women really don't view light-skinned men as their counterparts. So it makes sense why when a light-skinned cat may compliment a dark-skinned sister and she might want to sleep with him because he looked good, but that validation don't really mean nothing to them because, they don't view you as their counterpart. Best believe a dark-skinned man's validation to her is going to be more value to her than a light-skinned dude complimenting her, if that makes sense. You see what I'm saying? Like, you gotta understand, dark-skinned men are the face of the race. They got that privilege. And they view them as their counterparts. See what I'm saying? Dark-skinned men play mind games with dark-skinned women. They purposely over worship and submit to other groups of women and coon and shuck and jive to get other groups of women and stroke their egos to purposely make dark-skinned women jealous. Not all the time, not all dark-skinned men. And they constantly down dark-skinned women. And it could just be a manipulation tactic to get dark-skinned women to keep trying to prove themselves to them. So by the time a light-skinned dude says, I think you this, that, and the third, that validation doesn't mean anything. They're still chasing after validation from dark-skinned men. Now we're going to get into light-skinned women. and how light-skinned women are always chasing after validation from dark-skinned people, and specifically dark-skinned men. Light-skinned people have had their identity stolen from them, and they have been completely erased in this society. So with that being said, we have been forced into that black ethnic group, which is not a real thing. It's not a nationality. It could be an ethnic group, but light-skinned women, for example, will always seek after dark-skinned men's validation just based off the fact of that they're the face of the race, and we've been thrown into blackness. You gotta understand, when a light-skinned female is trying to get her racial or her ethnic, she's going to try to get validation for her race and her ethnicity. She's going to go to the darkest man available, because when you think of a black man, you're not going to think of, she don't think of a light-skinned nigga with green eyes, as a black man. She just doesn't. And how you know this, even back in 2020 when it was, we was living in the new woke order, when being black and everybody was trying to act woke and all this shit, when they went to a black man, especially black women, they wouldn't think about no light-skinned dude with green eyes. They always chasing after dark-skinned men. Why is that? Because they didn't view you as the real thing. So he has dark-skinned women chasing after his validation. And on top of that, he has light-skinned women, mulatto women, chasing after his validation. Because she's always going to try to prove herself to him, because, he's viewed as more racially authentic to her. And also, you got to think about, the mixed race chicks who have black fathers who purposely may have abandoned them. And that could be a manipulation tactic. They may get with a white girl and abandon a mixed child, and, they may try to act, and she might go look for validation, by getting with a dark-skinned man, to kind of fill that void of, that man neglecting her. So you got to understand, these females, they're chasing after validation from dark-skinned men, are everywhere to some degree. That's why it's important for light-skinned men to have voices, and most light-skinned dudes don't catch up on the plays. All right? So you got dark-skinned women who are chasing after dark-skinned men's validation, especially now with, the trends and the fake woke shit that's going on. And the other groups of women trying to compete with black women. They have a session with trying to compete with black women. So that validation, that dark-skinned man's validation to a dark-skinned woman is going to mean much more now than it did 10 years ago. I mean, it was always there if you're going to go there, because, light-skinned women are competing with them, and they're always trying to get after, dark-skinned men, and dark-skinned men are always trying to simp for them. So that validation is going to mean much more from that. And they're always going to be the face of that race. And, they kind of look at light-skinned guys as like a, like a watered down version, because that's what in the society, that's the narrative that they have concocted for mulatto men or light-skinned men. You're not authentic, or, dark-skinned men say that to white women. Sometimes they say, don't get with a light-skinned dude, if you can get with a black man, get the real thing. So you have to understand stuff like that. And that's why it's important for you to get out of that umbrella term that don't really benefit you guys. All right. Even in the black community, if you look at light-skinned women, Forlight brought this up about how they try their hardest to separate from light-skinned men, because the way that dark-skinned men are in white men, they promote light-skinned men. It does have an effect on how light-skinned women view you guys. And the way that they view you guys is the way that dark-skinned men spread these narratives in dark-skinned women, because they have their help as well, spread these false narratives about you guys. And the representation of how they represent you guys, it actually matters, and it is effective, because you see it does work with these women. All right. So you have to understand that these females are seeking, especially in Blackistan, they are seeking dark-skinned men's validation nonstop, because he's viewed as the face of the race, even though he doesn't do shit. Also, they have an aesthetic in their mind. Like I said, they have an aesthetic in their mind of what a real black man is. Go to any black woman, dark or light, they'll tell you what their aesthetic of what an actual black man is. They'll say dark skin, it's just that and the third, because it's what they envision in their head when you think of black, dark brown. Go to a light skin chick. I remember watching a lipstick service. What's it called with Angela Yee? Lip service. And this mulatto chick, but she was born in the hood from Baltimore, Chammy Walker Flocka's old thing. They asked her what type of man did she want in her video. And I got a new video coming about how light-skinned women, and women period, but especially light-skinned women, how they're over-infatuated with that hood persona. That's why dark-skinned men portray that persona, because they know what, they study women. You know, we don't think about women all day. You know, they do. Not all of them, but a lot of them do. But they when they asked her what she wanted in her video, they said, you know, I want somebody who's tall, dark, and handsome with dreadlocks and tattoos. That's what she said. And then Angela Yee brought up, why come nobody ever says they want a light-skinned brother in their video? You know? And they were silent. Most of them are too ashamed to say that they like light-skinned brothers, because this society has dismantled the image of black light-skinned brothers, mulatto brothers so much, especially in the black community. So they kind of feel like it's kind of corny to say that. And on top of that, another mixed girl who wasn't black at all, she was Puerto Rican. She was saying that she had to, swear her blackness up. You know, that's an insecurity of them. They want to feel more like black women, whatever. It was not in the real thing. And then L'Oreal, the light skinned chick that she called Michael B. Jordan corny. That chick. She said she dated light-skinned cats in the past. And they asked Tammy Rivera, what did she like, And they asked her, she said, I like dark-skinned dudes because I like all my niggas hood. So they are over-infatuated with that fake hood persona, all right, that dark-skinned men and dark-skinned women portray. That ghetto queen shit. But that's what I want to speak about. I'm talking about how all these women, they're chasing after dark-skinned men's validation. All right. And we're going to speak about it more. I'll see you on the next one.